Lines of code and lines of fate. The evening rush at Rosemary's Cafe had finally quieted to a gentle hum. Steam rose from the industrial dishwasher in lazy spirals, and the soft clatter of plates being stacked created a rhythmic backdrop to the nights winding down. Elena Martinez wiped her hands on her apron and glanced at the clock on the kitchen wall. 9:30. Just another hour until closing. She had been working at Rosemary's for 8 months now, ever since her last tech startup, had folded and left her scrambling to pay rent on her small downtown apartment. The transition from software engineer to waitress had been jarring at first, but Elena had learned to find peace in the simple rhythm of taking orders, serving food, and making small talk with customers who never knew that their friendly server had once written algorithms that processed millions of data points. The irony wasn't lost on her. By day, she carried plates and refilled coffee cups. By night, she hunched over her laptop at the small table in her apartment, working on freelance coding projects and dreaming of the day when she could return to the world she truly belonged. Tonight was different, though. Tonight, she had brought her laptop to work. During her break, Elena sat in the quiet corner of the kitchen, her fingers dancing across the keyboard with the fluid grace of someone who spoke the language of code. As naturally as breathing, she was working on something special, a complex algorithm that had been haunting her thoughts for weeks. It was elegant, innovative, and potentially revolutionary. The kind of solution that could change how companies handled massive data processing. She had been working on this particular problem during every spare moment she could find. The mathematical beauty of it captivated her, the way the lines of code wove together like poetry, each function building upon the last to create something greater than the sum of its parts. Elena was so absorbed in her work that she didn't notice the tall figure who had quietly entered the kitchen area looking for the restroom. Marcus Thompson, founder and CEO of Dataflow Technologies, had been dining alone at table 12, enjoying the cafe's quiet atmosphere after a particularly difficult day at the office. His company was facing its biggest crisis yet. For months, his team of brilliant engineers had been struggling with a data processing bottleneck that threatened to cripple their entire platform. Millions of dollars and countless hours had been poured into finding a solution, but every approach seemed to hit the same wall. The problem was so complex that even the most experienced programmers on his team were stumped. Marcus had come to Rosemary's Cafe not for the food, though it was excellent, but for the peace it offered. Sometimes, stepping away from the pressure cooker, environment of Silicon Valley was the only way to think clearly. He paused when he saw Elena, her brow furrowed in concentration, her fingers moving with practiced precision across the keyboard. The screen was filled with lines of code, but even from his limited view, Marcus could see that this wasn't ordinary programming. The structure, the elegance of the algorithms, it looked sophisticated, professional. Curiosity got the better of him. As someone who had built his fortune on recognizing talent and innovation, Marcus had developed an instinct for spotting exceptional work, and what he was seeing on Elena's screen looked exceptional indeed. "I'm sorry," he said gently, not wanting to startle her. "I was looking for the restroom, but I couldn't help but notice your code. That's some impressive work." Elena looked up, surprised and slightly embarrassed. She recognized the man from table 12. He'd been polite and quiet during dinner, tipping generously and treating her with the kind of respect that unfortunately wasn't always common in the service industry. "Oh, I'm sorry," she said, quickly minimizing the window. "I know I shouldn't be working on personal projects during my break, but I only have a few minutes and I was so close to solving—" "No, please," Marcus interrupted, his interest clearly piqued. "Don't apologize. I'm actually quite interested in what you're working on. I'm Marcus Thompson, by the way." Elena blinked, the name registering immediately. Marcus Thompson, CEO of Dataflow Technologies, one of the most successful tech entrepreneurs of the decade. She had read about him in industry publications, had even used his company's products in her previous jobs. "Elena Martinez," she managed, extending her hand. "I know who you are, Mr. Thompson. I've followed your work for years." Marcus sat down across from her, his expression earnest. "Would you mind showing me what you're working on? I promise I'm not trying to steal proprietary information. I'm just genuinely curious about what a waitress is doing with code that's sophisticated." Elena hesitated for a moment, then reopened her laptop. "I'm not just a waitress," she said quietly. "I mean, I am right now, but I used to be a software engineer. I've been working on this data processing algorithm in my spare time. It's designed to handle massive parallel operations with minimal latency." As Elena began to explain her approach, Marcus felt his pulse quicken. The problem she was solving, the elegant solution she had developed, it was exactly what his company needed. More than that, it was brilliant. Her approach bypassed all the traditional bottlenecks that had been plaguing his team, using a completely innovative architecture that he had never seen before. "Elena," he said slowly, "how familiar are you with distributed database management and real-time analytics processing?" She looked at him with a slight smile. "Very familiar. That's exactly what this algorithm is designed for. I've been thinking about this problem for months, ever since I read about the challenges companies like yours face with scaling data operations." Marcus stared at the screen, his mind racing. "Would you be willing to come in and present this to my engineering team? I think you might have just solved the biggest problem my company has ever faced." Elena's heart began to beat faster. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious. Elena, I've spent the last 6 months with some of the brightest minds in Silicon Valley trying to crack this exact problem. And here you are, working in a cafe kitchen during your break, and you've found an elegant solution that none of us even considered." Over the next 2 hours, long after the cafe had closed, Elena and Marcus sat in the empty dining room while she walked him through her algorithm line by line. She explained her reasoning, demonstrated the efficiency gains, and answered his technical questions with the kind of depth and insight that only came from true understanding. Marcus was amazed not just by her technical skills, but by her story. Elena had graduated summa cum laude from MIT with a degree in computer science. She had worked for several tech companies, contributing to products that millions of people use daily. When her last startup failed, she had taken the waitressing job as a temporary solution, never stopping her pursuit of elegant code and innovative solutions. "Elena," Marcus said finally, "I'd like to offer you a position as senior algorithm developer at Dataflow Technologies. The salary would be 3 times what you're making here, plus equity, plus the resources to turn this brilliant work of yours into something that could revolutionize how we process data." Elena felt tears welling up in her eyes. For months, she had felt invisible, undervalued, forgotten by the industry she loved. She had begun to wonder if she would ever find her way back to the work that gave her life meaning. "There's just one condition," Marcus added with a smile. "You have to promise me that you'll never stop following your curiosity, no matter where you're working or what title you hold. The world needs people who can see solutions where others see only problems." 3 months later, Elena's algorithm had been implemented across Dataflow's entire platform, resulting in a 40% improvement in processing speed and saving the company millions of dollars. She led a team of engineers who respected her not because of her title, but because of her brilliance and her humble understanding that great ideas can come from anywhere, at any time. Sometimes she would look back on that evening in the cafe kitchen and marvel at how a moment of curiosity and recognition had changed everything. She had learned that talent doesn't dim just because circumstances change, and that sometimes the most unexpected places hold the solutions we've been searching for all along. In a world that often judges people by their job titles or their current circumstances, Marcus had seen past the apron and the order pad to recognize the brilliant mind underneath. And Elena had proven that true innovation doesn't require corner offices or prestigious positions. Sometimes it just requires passion, persistence, and the quiet confidence to keep solving problems, one line of code at a time.